You are live.
Let's get it. This is Eternal Underground Production.
Support Reach.
I know what it is, man. You're now tuned in to the Hodge Podge Sports Show, where the picks on target sharper than Katniss Everdeen with a crossbow. Before you place a bet, let's check with Patrick and Sean first. Unless your aim is that, holler your vibes. Check the stores right here. Forget the mother stations, we got you covered. Don't waste your time. Ain't no need to straddle the fence. Now you can take a side with competition where you think the gazelle can take the line. If you in opposition, just look, it will change your mind. This is where you catch him at. And every show a banger like Ray Lewis at the quarterback. I don't perform, you got a topic, but we'll address it. God, don't come on here talking that nonsense and don't know nothing. No hesitation, get put in your place. End the discussion. No sugarcoating. Over here, keep it 100. Got a question, we gon' come with the answer like Iris. Yeah. If you ain't know then, you know now just what time it is. Sean, reppin' the city, your brotherly love. Philly stand up, Super Bowl 52 champions. Baltimore in the building, make some noise for his pack. Got Charm City on his back, putting on for the night. Cal Ripken Jr. back with the Orioles. And he's 4 rebound to diving through this knowledge room. He's common school. Follow us, shout out to you. Without you, this ain't possible. You rock with us, we rock with you. I love us, I love you. Much love to the fan base and follow the fan page. It's deeper than sports talk. It's something like family. Ever and be more. Let's get you a crab cake. Or you in Philly, say let's grab you a cheesecake. Now run into the sports fanatics that you know online. Tune in every weekend when we going live. Tune in every weekend when we going live. Yeah, I know what time it is, man. HBS, let's get it. Let's get it. You're tuned in.
Support Reach.
Cause sports breed passion, ain't no better place to let it out than right here on HBS, where we never stop. Never stop, never stop, never stop.
Alrighty. Bringing it in. Hodge Podge Sports Show. I am Patrick Hodge. He is Sean James Harrison. Hodge Podge Sports Show is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app for the ultimate fan experience at your favorite sports venue. Arena Eats mobile app. Pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? We got a lot to unpack tonight in a short amount of time. I'm going to like this. This is going to be that fireside chat or that podcast feel. We're going to talk about my man, number 4, right? Finally got paid. Mr. Dakota Rain Prescott. Going to talk about the EMVIP. His nasty-looking injury that does not look to be too serious, thank goodness, because it looked bad when it happened last night. For y'all don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about the front runner for MVP of the NBA, Joel Embiid. We're going to talk about the Russell Wilson drama, how self-inflicted it is. Really want to touch base on the NCAA bracket. I just don't even know if they're even going to have an NCAA tournament. I got feelings about that. Maybe we'll touch on some MLB spring training. We'll just see where the hour takes us. But for now, this is the Hodge Podge Sports Show. We are presented by NGSC. Before we stop, how's it going, Mr. Sean James Harrison?
Oh man, you know me. I'm always living the dream. And, there's certain things today that I'm not going to look forward to talking to, and one of them's my free Dak movement. My hashtag free Dak movement's officially over. That's kind of depressing. And talking about my man Joel is going to be a little depressing too. I mean, I'm running out of people to free. That's all I'm saying. I have no more people that need to be freed. All right. So now I got to move on to something else. I guess I'll figure out something.
No, I hear you. But listen, I think we knew the free Dak movement really wasn't going to go anywhere, right? I
wanted to go somewhere.
Yeah. You didn't go hard on the free Dak movement like you did, bro. You were hard on the Zeke movement.
Oh, because I think we both know when it comes when my opinion on that team and where the ball favors is, I think, different than yours. At the time, I think Zeke helps Dak so much more. I think Zeke helps Dak
Yeah.
so much be successful, and without Zeke, Dak can be more average. So it's obvious. I don't want either one of them playing for the Cowboys. Clearly, I'd rather the Cowboys have Quincy Carter again. I mean, I don't want this to have to deal with Dak Prescott twice a year for the next 4 years at least. Doing everything I can here. I'm doing my part. That's all I'm saying.
You're doing your part. I understand. I think at the time it was skewed that way, rightfully so, right? That Dak might have needed Zeke to be successful, even though the numbers said otherwise. But clearly, that's not the case. The one thing that I've always said about Dak is that he's continually gotten better each year, and that's what you want out of your quarterback. It really doesn't matter what the contract is. Zeke's gotten worse, is how we say. In Cabo, man. It really doesn't matter where the numbers were. It was just that to have any type of success, you knew he was going to get paid. You knew he was going to get market. And I've always said that he shouldn't be the highest paid, but you knew he was going to at least get Deshaun Watson money, or at least should get that. And that's just what it is. Doesn't matter who's below him. It's just the time of the deal. And if you're a fan of the Cowboys and you're a fan of Dak Prescott, you got to be happy that he finally got paid. And if you have any qualms about the deal, then like I said last week, and I'll say this every week, take it up with the Joneses. They're the ones that could have paid him last a couple of years ago and failed to do that. So good deal. It's better than having them, count 37-2. A lot of money up in the first year, $75 million or something like that with bonus and this and that. So good for him. Glad he got paid. Hopefully he recovers fully. He looks to be in good health. They should be decent. They should take the division pretty easily if everybody remains healthy. There's nobody that can match offensively in the division. Defense, they got a lot of work to do, and we'll get into that as the summer goes along. This is kind of funny, he's counting 22 million against the cap. Carson Wentz is counting like 25 against the Eagles cap and like 24 against like the Colts cap or something like that. That's just crazy. It's just, and it's not a knock on Carson Wentz or Dak. It's just crazy how these NFL contracts work. That when you trade a player, you're still responsible for so much of their salary on your cap. Like, I just don't understand how the NFL has that type of system. You know what I mean? It's like here's
the thing is we complain about the NFL, the NFL's contracts and everything, but we only have the Players Association, and the players only have themselves to blame for the contracts, right? There is a Players Association. There is a grouping of people that they have in charge of making sure these agreements go through. And at the end of the day, if these players or these players are upset about contracts, which I don't see why, if you're Carson, why you're upset. You're getting $20 million for both sides still. Then I think the owners have something to. I think the owners have something to be mad about here, right? The owners negotiated this deal, right? The owners and the players came together and negotiated a deal for the new CBA. Now, if you don't like this, then you need to go back to the lab, but you can't go back to the lab for another 4 years because that's all on the contract. The new contract is correct. So that means you're screwed, and you screwed yourself this way for 4 years. Do I think the process is dumb? Yes. Do I think that there's only really one sport out of all four that have the best when it comes to getting in and out of contracts? Yes, I do. And I mean, I'm sorry, but with the way the NBA works with their contracts is better for the player and better for the team as well, because they have the buyout market and all that, where you can buy a player out of the contract and only take a slight hit for 1 year. Where in the NFL, if you trade a guy or buy a guy out, you're still responsible. In the NBA, if you trade a guy, you're not responsible for his salary anymore. So I just don't understand.
I know that.
I don't understand what if you trade a player, why you're still responsible for his cap. I don't want to know what owners signed off on that and thought it was a good idea.
That's what I mean, and it's always been that way. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's been that way as long as I know about the NFL contracts. It's been that way. Now, I'm sure there's been a time frame on it. If I really dig into it, I can find out when that happened. But that's just crazy to me, right? Like, I just feel like if the player's no longer on your team, everything about them needs to go with them, right?
Yeah.
Like he gets contracts to get moved to like every other sport, the contract gets moved. Like, like now if a certain team wants to take part of it to acquire him, depending on what you're giving up, so be it, right? That's part of the deal too, right? But for the most part, man, it really should be like, I don't know. That's just weird. I mean, because you're giving up a lot of assets. You're giving up a lot of assets.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the comment. I'm laughing at the comment. You're giving up a lot of assets and plus still taking a hit on the cap, like for like a year or two or however long it is. I mean, that's just crazy. And there's a lot of things that I want to say when it comes about this contract, because there's something else that I want to address while we got this. And I know you and I have talked about this before, and I think we're on the same page when I'm going to say this. But go ahead, I'm going to let you get that in before I go to what I got to say.
It blows my mind, and that's what, like, whenever we talk about the NBA and we talk about like players getting traded here for here, and then the first thing that we always say is, well, you have to match the salaries. The NFL, like we were just talking about, like that doesn't matter, and that it's I want to say semi irritating, but at the same point, kind of unfortunately it is what it is, and again, it's something that the owners negotiated. I'm always a player first guy, where I want the player to get the best he can out of any deal all the time. But I mean, the owners can't get steamrolled either here. I mean, they have to have something.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So then, everybody's always like up in arms about people restructuring and not restructuring, right? And then we get to every year, Tom Brady's restructured his contract to take less, to help the team win, right? And it bugs me every time I see somebody say it. Every time I hear it, it just bugs the shit out of me, because we've talked about this before, right? That's what I was laughing at when he was in New England. And he did these restructures, so-called, to help the team. That no one can really give us an impact player that they got when he restructured, right? Like they re-signed Stephon Gilmore, right? But the New England system was a system, and quiet as it's kept, right? New England was funding his TB12 company, so he was still getting paid. Now you just won your 20th Super Bowl out of 20, right? The dude's like 20 for 20, right? Of course, I'm being facetious, right? But why wouldn't you restructure your deal in Tampa Bay to keep that talent together? Like, that's a no-brainer move, right? I mean, this is probably, no, not probably. This is the team that has the most talent on both sides of the ball that he's ever been around, right? So you knew that once they got it together, you knew the results were going to be there. I don't know if we knew he was going to win the Super Bowl, but again, a lot of people picked them to win the Super Bowl. A lot of fans jumped in, and you got the diehard Tampa fans. It's like, yo, we're going all the way. He backed it up. Listen, I don't know if he's the greatest of all time, but he's certainly the greatest of our time. I'll never take that away from him. He's the guy that you love to hate, because all he does is win, and you can't stop him, and that makes people mad, right? Because they want to call him a cheater. They want to pull anything out that they can to besmirch or downgrade his accomplishment. At the end of the day, you know what he does? He just gives you two middle fingers and says, I got number 7. I'm going for number 8. I'm going for number 9. I'm going for number 10.
Well, I mean, I think it's also important.
Until you stop me, right? Until you stop me, hate me, right? And don't say anything to him, right? Because like, how'd that work out for Tyrann Mathieu, right? You want to chirp at him, don't do that. Like, I think a lot of people forget how much of a competitor this guy is, right? And all you have to do is just take a look at him in general, right? He's 40-some years old. He's still playing at a high level, right? You don't get much more competitive than that, right? Put Drew Brees up against him, right? How old did Drew Brees look this year? Seriously.
Oh my God!
Right?
He looked like he was in a wheelchair this year.
Right? And you know how much I'm a number 9 fan. But even last year, even 2 years ago, you could see that it was a decline. Now we're hearing that he played the whole year with a significant injury. So and I'll ask you this: you don't have to answer this right now. This is something we can bring back later. But how selfish is it for a player to do that? How selfish is it of them to play through a significant injury like that? Or, because it's football, he's a warrior. You know what I'm saying? Like, do we walk that fine line there? Because, in any other sport, it's like, oh, I got to do what's right for the team. I got to sit out. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but please feel free to chime in there.
You asked how important or how selfless or what is it like for a player to play hurt and how much it means to a team. I mean, if anything, I think for most of all, it's showing the rest of the players on that team that this guy's going to play through anything for me. He's going to run through a brick wall, so I need to do it too. And I'm going to touch this back to locally for myself with Lane Johnson's playing through injury and how he wrote. Oh, never mind. I'm not going there just yet because I'm going to get angry, and I don't want to get angry tonight. It's a happy night. But yeah, I mean, this is the same thing. When we as fans or other teammates around you, see that you're playing with an injury, seeing that somebody's playing with an injury, you gravitate more to that player, right? Just like the fans or the players that are playing with him will gravitate more to that guy because he's giving it all he's got every single down, every single time. But I want to touch back on TB12 here. When you said he's giving back with his money, that's nice, but he's also making more. At one point in his career, he was making more money off of his sponsorships than he was his actual NFL contract. Let's be real about the situation. When you're a guy like TB12, like a LeBron James, like a Michael Jordan, these guys that are faces of the NFL, faces of the NBA. I ain't gonna say MLB because they market their guys horribly, but the other two, the NBA and the NFL, they know how to market their star players and know how to push them down your throat. They make more money off their sponsorships than they do their actual NBA contracts or NFL contracts. And TB12 is no dummy. He knows this. And that's why he started that whole TB12 brand and all that other stuff. Gillette's been paying him. That watch company's been paying him. I mean, he's making more money. He's making more money off not playing than he is playing. So he doesn't need to make that 40-something million because he's making $67 million off of the commercial that he just did for Gillette. Or off of just advertising for his own brand for TB12. Every time you guys go buy that TB12 shirt, I'm just saying, like, let's not forget, yes, it's not that easy for guys like. Actually, you know what? It is easy for a Patrick Mahomes and an Aaron Rodgers because State Farm. That's not no cheap one. Let's not pretend like they don't got the sponsors either.
Yeah, you're right.
So when players when Tom Brady, but the difference is like you said, Tom Brady's already won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when people say he was taking a pay cut, Tom Brady was not taking a pay cut when he won his first 4. There was no pay cut needed for him to be taken. But in his first 2 contracts, he had 3 Super Bowls. So what pay cut did he really need to take? It wasn't until his third renewal round where he was taking a quote unquote pay cut. Well, let's be real about the situation. Right. Now should Aaron Rodgers take a pay cut, who's towards the back end of his career at this point? Yeah, you can catch me on that, and we can have a back and forth on that. I would agree with you probably. But you're not going to tell me Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, who's going to be up, Baker Mayfield, who's going to be up, all these guys that are about to get their feet wet should be taking pay cuts right away. No, they need to get their money just like everybody else gets their money. Roethlisberger got his money. Drew Brees got his money. All these guys got their money. Let everybody eat. Let these quarterbacks eat.
I don't think anybody should have to take a pay cut. You know what I mean? Like the fact that if these guys take a pay cut, great. But just don't give me the he does it year in and out because it's better. It's he's making better for the team. Tell me where New England got better when he took a pay cut. That's all I want to say. Like tell me what marquee player New England brought in that got them to the championship. With him taking that money. That's what I'm trying to make. You get what I'm saying? Like there's not you can't, right? Like New England is kind of like Pittsburgh in a way to where they're not going to pay you. they're going to pay you what they think is and it's going to be, in the top 5 or whatever, but they're not really going to make you the top guy. Tom Brady had the largest pay for a quarterback for like a couple months, I think, when he signed his one. Right, he reset the market one time out of his illustrious. So we're not taking away from that, but yet, you brought up Gillette, right? Who owns Gillette, right? Like, who owns Gillette?
Oh
Robert
God,
Kraft.
yeah.
Who owns the pay? So where's the pay cut coming from? Like, I mean, yeah, in a football contract, sure, right? And a lot of players don't make that money in endorsements, right? Like certain players do, right? And that's why a lot of people were like, oh, well, Dak should take a pay quarterback at the Cowboys. But it's like the people that were saying that never took a pay cut, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, like you had Carson Palmer, all these guys that got their money and never took one, right? So don't come with that, right? You get what I'm saying? Like that was nonsense, right? And like you said, maybe on the next contract, maybe that's something they can get done. But like you said, you brought up a good point. That's missed a lot, right? These guys coming in on these first 4 or 5 year deals, they're not really making a lot of money with the way the things are slotted, right? Keep in mind, Dak Prescott was a 4th round draft pick. He played years for like $4 million, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, keep everything in perspective, right? Why is it that it's always a quarterback that's expected to take the pay cut when you got other people that are on the team that take up a lot of cap space and may not be performing, right? So like I can just go right, like you said, right? Why does Ezekiel Elliott not take a pay cut? His performance has not matched his pay over the last couple of years, right? And remember, I was on record saying that that's one guy that shouldn't have gotten paid, but it was a moot point because we knew he was going to get paid, right?
Yeah.
But it's like right, and that's why I have no sympathy for Deshaun Watson because you signed that contract, right?
Oh yeah,
you just signed that contract, and now
you're right.
You're trying to lose or whatever. Nah, man. People were like, "Oh, well, why stay on the sinking ship?" Well, then, if you're again, I'll go back to this, right? Because everybody was all on me and misunderstood what I said. So I'm gonna go back to this. If we're putting Deshaun Watson as the number 2, number 3 quarterback, then it shouldn't be a sinking ship because he should be that difference maker. Okay. Then if he's not, then there's no such thing as a sinking ship. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I know there's not a lot of people that are rocking with us tonight, and that's me because again, it's one of those moments where we just take receipts, and it's just like, listen, we watched Aaron Rodgers play at a high level and develop people, right? I mean, the list of people that he's developed is just crazy. He's never asked out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when they gave Tom Brady nothing his last year, he didn't ask out. They didn't want to bring him back. You understand what I'm saying? Like Donovan McNabb never had anybody really throw the ball to. He never asked out. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about players. I mean, people that don't have anything that continue to put the good fight up and do what they can to make that difference, right? It's like, so don't give me that, man. And so Chuck Thomas, right? Here's a good question, Sean. What happens if fans don't come back to the stadiums or arenas? I think we're going to have to see the owners take back their business. They, meaning owners, took some losses this year in all sports. So I'll say this about the owners taking back their business. I can't think of a sport to where the owners don't control the business. And if they're taking losses, so be it, because they've been getting rich year after year after year. Like take MLB, for instance. They are the worst. These owners are the worst in the way that they take care of their players and the way that they want to pay them. They have been driving down the market the last couple of years collectively on that and not wanting to pay guys. So now you have to be, and yes, you have to be the just namesake, right? You have to be the Ken Griffey, the Roger Clemens, right? The Tom Seaver, right? Like you have to be that guy now to get paid in the MLB, which is kind of weird, right? Because you can be average in the NBA and get paid like a top player. You could be below average in the NFL and get paid like a top player, right? So it's just kind of weird. So I'm sure the owners are going to figure out a way to say that cry broke or whatever and do what they got to do to take back the business, as you say. But I think as a nation, we're going back to the stadiums and arenas. I think everybody.
Oh, undoubtedly.
We just don't. We don't have the. We don't have the patience to do what we need to do to make this better. We just don't like we just and that's everybody. You know, we're not following the mandates. We're not masking up. We're not keeping 6 feet. You know, things like that. So I'm not concerned about people not being able to come back to arenas because you see now, right? Like here in Baltimore, right? 11,000 fans are going to be able to go to the baseball game. Certain stadiums are going to be at 100%. I think Atlanta, they're like at 33, 25%. So it's just trial and error, right? Let's see how many people we can pack in to see how bad it is or how bad it doesn't get. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And
I mean, we're at like 10% here in Philly. Yeah. We're only at 3,000 fans in the stadium. Yeah. The other thing I try to explain to people too, and especially at my way, is that 3,000 people. It's 3,000 people, but for every person you need an employee, right? So they might say you're allowed 3,000, exactly, but you also need employees. So you might, by the end of after you have all the employees come in and all the faculty and all the all the staff, that's not also including the NBA players as well, and the people on the floor and the referees and the coaches and all of that, you're probably talking closer to 2,000 people that are actually allowed in after staffing and coaching and all that stuff goes through. It's
no, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's insane when you really think about it. And Chuck, it's a great question. I actually like Chuck's other comment better about Aaron Rodgers because we were talking about how Aaron Rodgers never took a pay cut, but he's getting married, so he is taking a pay cut now. He's taking a major pay cut. Unlike the other A-Rod who's losing that wedding, right? That 3-year-long engagement he had is going bye-bye now. But yeah, it's insane, and it is. Where you see earlier, I want to touch back on. You were talking about quarterbacks that are constantly doing it with less, and that could slide us right into somebody we want to talk about with Russell Wilson here, and how he's been constantly doing it with less in Seattle. Talk about a guy that's been running for his life in Seattle almost habitually. It's like without practice, they haven't given him an offensive line. He hasn't had really a top tier wide receiver up until Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and that's really recently. He's had Marshawn Lynch, but his offensive line has always been garbage. He's given Seattle all he could. He's never hurt, and on top of that, like I said, he gets beat up every single year. And now the old saying is, where there's smoke, there's fire. He's got a no-trade clause, but it seems like he's hitting. He wants out, right? Seems like he's hitting. He wants out. He's given them a list of 4 teams. A list of 4 teams that he wants to go to. That list has just been shrunk to 3 teams since Dak got signed in Dallas. So, the realistic. Where does he go where he's in a better situation than he's in right now? And now I'm going to say this again. Because I want to say this one word one more time. Where does he go where he's in a better situation than he's in right now?
I think out of the 4 teams that were listed, the only place that he could have went that would have been better, I think the Dallas situation might have been better because they have a little bit better offensive talent, but the offensive line is still in shambles. And I don't know if there is a better situation for him being able for him to be able to be who he is. Now, there's a lot to this though, right? And I just want to go back to something you said about the fans and I'm gonna circle back to Russ, I promise. Hang with us, folks. This is where we shine. That's a very valid point about for however many people you need employees. So that brings me to this, right? The Hodge Podge Sports Show is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app for the ultimate fan experience. That's your favorite venue. Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your orders so soon people are going to be finding out how they place their order.
This.
But that was one of the things that
my
Philly
man
was
said.
working with.
My man said, "This is where we shine," and that's what he did.
This is
I
where
want
we
y'all
shine.
I want
That's
you
what
guys
he
to realize what he just did. Continue. I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, it's all good. It's all good. You always told me I'm good on the mic. It's all good.
Oh my God.
But that's what Philadelphia was coming up against, though, when they were talking about that, right? When they were saying that the Sixers and the Flyers could have fans in, they had to reduce the number that they originally came out with to account for the workers, right? Like you had mentioned. So now, flipping back to my man Russ, think about this for a second. This isn't new, right? Wasn't it a year ago or 2 years ago we heard that he wanted to go to New York? You know, he's married to Sierra. You know, she wanted to be back in New York for her career and things like that, right? It was either last year or the year or 2 years ago that we heard this rumors. Oh, he's not going anywhere either. He's not going anywhere. So now, right, the team, you know, he's rebelling, right? Let's just call it what it is, right? He's rebelling, right? You know, he's been the good soldier. You know, he's taken a beating. You know, he's run the offense that they've running him to run. You know, never really gave him a running back outside of Marsh, help pound the rock and things like that, right? He's coddled up there in Seattle, right? He's out there in that little bubble, gets to do, say what he wants. Remember now, he wasn't the most respected in that locker room either when they were winning. All right. So you got to stick with me on this, right? You know, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, them boys, they really didn't care for him in the way that he handled himself, the way that he went about his business, right? So, you know, there's some reason to why those guys moved on. You know, Chancellor had to retire, but you know, there's some stuff there too. So, you know, he runs that show up there, but now he did the unthinkable. He spoke out. Right? So like you said, he spoke out.
Yo, Chuck,
how dare
your boy Chuck is hysterical, bro.
He's on fire, isn't he?
Bro, he's on fire. His last comment, bro. Russell married Sierra. He got a pay raise marrying her. Oh my God, bro.
Married up. Listen, he's on fire, man. Aaron Rodgers took a pay cut. Russell got a pay raise. I can dig it, right? And like Ray Bennett says, Ray Bennett is telling us, man, that Pete Carroll wears people out. Yep. Yeah, he does. And at the end of the day, you got this is kind of shaping up like the Carl Wentz, Doug Peterson situation, right? Only one of them would be left standing, and then lo and behold, none of them are there. So, you know, Pete was going to retire a year or two ago. You know, they keep changing offensive coordinators on this kid. I mean, eventually he doesn't go anywhere, and it's because of what you said. There's no better situation that he can go to. Sure, exactly. He wants to go to Chicago. Why? Why you want to be in the same division with Aaron Rodgers? You can't beat Aaron Rodgers. Why you want to be in the same division where you're gonna play him twice? You can't beat him. Why you want to do that to yourself? Right now, your team is the best team in that division, right? That division's up and coming, but you're not taking Matt Stafford. You're not taking Kyler Murray, right? You're not taking Jimmy Garoppolo over Russ. You're not, right?
Talk to me in 3 years, I might take Kyler Murray over him.
Yeah, sure. Maybe. But not now you ain't. And
not now.
So you know, you almost got the Tom Brady path. Excuse me. You almost have the New England Patriots Tom Brady path to the playoffs by winning your division, right? You know, LA's formidable, no question, right? That defense is formidable, right? Mm-hmm. But Sean McVay, his offense is stalled out, right? Cliff Kingsbury is a new thing for offense in a right? And it is what it is there. But you know, I to answer your question, long-winded, and I apologize. There is no better situation
that's my whole
for
point.
him to go to than what he currently has when all things considered, right?
Yep. And I'll tell you what,
because Wait, hold on 1 second.
Go ahead. I'm
Chuck
sorry.
Thomas, Chuck Thomas says maybe because he has Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones, and Bosa coming after him twice a year. So you think that gets easier by going to the NFC North, right? I mean, he wants Khalil Mack coming after him twice a year. Come on,
We play with
man.
Mack.
I mean, listen.
So what I'm saying is,
Russell
I think
Wilson is a product of the environment too. Let's keep it real.
I think that Chicago would actually work for him. Now, granted, you're saying that he can't beat Green Bay, which is noted. It's signed. It's proven. It's been in front of us for the last 2-3 years. We've seen it. He can't beat Aaron Rodgers. We get it. But I am going to say he can't beat Aaron Rodgers with Seattle. Now, you give him Chicago, who already has a pretty good defense, who already has arguably the best defensive player in the league in Khalil Mack. And you're giving him an offense where he has Allen Robinson. They have that running back David Montgomery, and an offensive line that isn't terrible. What's the one thing that Chicago's really missing, and they need more than anything? They need a quarterback. Now, if you put Russell Wilson on that Chicago Bears team last year, does Russell Wilson make the Bears, but they were 8-8, correct? Last year they were 8-8. Does Russell Wilson make the Chicago Bears 2 wins better? Let's just say 2 wins better. Does Russell Wilson alone make them 10-6? Were they 8-8 or were they 9-7? Weren't they in the playoffs last year? Weren't they the 7th seed?
Yeah, they did make it. I still think they were 8-8 though.
All right, they're 8-8. That's fine. Are they 10-6 with Russell Wilson? That's what I'm asking.
No. And
sure about
that's
that?
not a knock. And that's not a knock. Yeah, and this is my reason. It's not a knock. It's not a knock on Russell Wilson. It's a knock on that head coach. I don't think anybody was getting. I don't think anybody was getting more than 8 wins with that head coach. Right? That head coach handcuffed that offense, man. I mean, I'm not saying that Mitch Trubisky is the worst thing ever, but he's a lot better than what he showed in Chicago. And a lot of that, listen, you know this firsthand. A lot of that has to do with coaching, right? You can't have the success that he started to show and then just digress like that. I mean, listen, some of it's on him, a lot of it's on the coaching, right? We know Nick Foles wasn't the answer. I get what you're saying. He definitely makes the Bears better, but I just don't know if all things considered, if even he would have been able to overcome the head coaching ineptness is why I'm saying no. But if I'm being real, yes, they're a 10-win team with him because he probably could do something special out of those 8 losses to make those 2 to flip at least 2 of them to wins despite that head coach. So yes, they would be a 10-win.
And that's what I'm saying is that them just being a 10-win team puts them from like the 7th seed to the 5th seed, and that changes your entire path to your entire playoff trajectory. And it's insane because that's the only place I could see that would be somewhat suitable for him. I don't think it makes a lot of sense, to be honest, for him to go anywhere. I think he's in the best situation in a city that really loves him, and Seattle's one of the few cities in this entire country that I want Seattle to do well, man. Like, I feel bad for them. They're all the way on the furthest point of the West Coast. People forget about them all the time. They lost their basketball team. They don't have they're getting a hockey team, right? Like that's factual now. They're called the Kraken or whatever the heck they're called. What?
Yeah.
So they're on the come up, right? They're on the come up right now. Let's get them their basketball team back. You know,
I mean, I'm sure we'll see the Memphis Grizzlies out there. You know.
Ooh, don't tell Peyton. Don't tell Peyton and Corey. Oh wait, no. I forgot. I forgot.
Yeah.
Corey's from Tennessee and is a Boston Celtics fan and a Red Sox fan.
But this fandom is Northeast. Yeah, I don't understand that. But it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. We digress. It is what it is. Speaking of NBA, because this is where we shine, folks. Check it out. Speaking of the NBA, before you even asked me, yes, I saw the replay. I didn't see it happen live because I was doing something. Maybe I was watching Madison play Fortnite or something. But I saw the replay. I saw the knee buckle. Right. I only watched it once. That's all I could take. And when I saw it, I got to be honest with you, man. I wasn't that concerned. Like when I saw it, yeah, because it's something that you've seen 1,000 times without seeing it 1,000 times. You know, it's probably happened to you at the Y, you know, or outside playing. You know, you come down awkwardly, step on your buddy's ankle, or roll it, whatever. It looked bad, but I just had to feel, you know, it just wasn't going to be that bad, especially when he got up and walked off, and then he was talking about he was all right. And then when they weren't really rushing him to get an MRI, when they were talking about we get back to Philly and give him one, it was like, okay, you know, he probably doesn't have anything structural wrong. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, watch, it'll come back tomorrow, man, towards ACL, blew out his MCL, right? Because I'm sitting there thinking that didn't look that bad. But you know, then at the end of the day, you know, they're saying it's a bone bruise, right? He might miss 2 weeks. Okay, right. I don't think, you know, and you typed something earlier in our group today, and I'm just gonna give a little pushback on that. I don't think it's gonna affect his MVP candidacy at all. If anything, I think it heightens it. And I say it like this because, well, hold on.
I'm letting you go.
I say this, I say it to you like this because he got hurt playing basketball, right? Like what happened to him can happen to anybody, right? You know, this wasn't one of those things where he fell down, he hurt his back, or, you know, like the spring training incident, you know, you always hear pitchers cut their hands or fall down steps and shit and they get hurt. You know, he got hurt in the game, right? Everybody got to see it, you know, it's on Sports Center, you know, because he is the MVP right now. So I think that if anything, it heightens it because especially if he only misses the 2 weeks. I think if he was going to be out long term, then yeah. But listen, Sean, we could go a month from now and the season could be halted for 2 weeks because we could have a COVID outbreak. All right, remember, COVID changes everything, right? So I honestly don't think that it hurts him. And if they go back to what they've shown without him, then yeah. Now if they roll like they did the last 2 nights and they could stack up some wins, it still might skew it slightly, right? But listen, look at what LeBron James has not done without Anthony Davis, and some people still consider him the front runner for MVP. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Right. And we had a conversation last week. Yeah.
So here's where I'm at with it. And like we had this conversation last week, and this was prior to the entry. So I'm going to start off by saying Sean worked this weekend. And for all you that don't know, when Sean goes to work, I go into work at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I fell asleep at halftime of the Sixers game last night. I did not see it live. I didn't even see it, replay of it, until right now while Patrick was just talking. That's when I watched the replay of it. I've held out on watching it because it feared me. I was genuinely afraid of what I was going to see. I saw the tweet this morning from Wojnarowski saying that it's just a bone bruise, but from the way it was sounding and the way people were talking on the internet, sounded like an ACL. And I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see the leg shake and think it was an ACL as well. Because I've seen it too many times, and as a Philadelphia fan, and I didn't want to see it again. So I ignored it, and I ignored it all day, and I've continued to ignore it. But as I sat here and I let Patrick talk, I was like, let me watch it real quick. Pulled it up on my phone. I think the worst about it is watching him roll around on the ground holding his knee. Now that I've actually watched it. I think he's definitely not going to win MVP now, though. I think you're going to have James Harden getting another triple-double tonight. I think he's going to pass him. That's who I said last week on the show was going to be the only one I think that could overtake him, and this was pre-injury. Any way you want to slice it, when at the end of the year when they're doing the MVP voting, and this is what I said in the comment, we don't really care. I'm sure he wanted to win the MVP, but at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is the title. But I mean, they're going to look at the games. They're going to look at the games played, right? And if they're going to give it to him now, I'm going to slight Harden and give him credit at the same time, if that makes sense.
Sure.
The way he dogged it in the way Harden dogged it in Houston intentionally to get himself out of Houston should take him out of the MVP running right away. But the way he's played for Brooklyn, but the way he's played in Brooklyn, where he's now second all time in their triple doubles because he's already at 9 for the entire year, that should put him right back up in it. Luka Doncic is in the conversation. LeBron James. We talked about this last week already. He's been horrible without the Lakers, so he can't get in. And I think this is a battle of the big men. And Jokic might win it this year. I think Jokic might win it this year just because he's healthy all year, and because he's played all the games, and that's going to be his advantage on Embiid.
Let me say this to you, and you brought up a good point last week when or in the group. For Jokic to win it, Denver has to improve in the standings.
I agree.
I do believe those two are there, and you keep forgetting my guy. I'm just going to do this to you because he's in that conversation. I don't care what anybody says. If I got to petition the NBA my damn self, that cat's in the conversation.
Do you want to know?
I think Harden gets slighted because even though they might not all be playing at the same time, it's hard to be the MVP of the league when you got two other superstars on your team. I'm just going to say that. I know people have done it, but I think in this case, that's going to hurt him. I think there's a lot of negativity that follows him, and we all know who he is and what he is. We're going to see come down stretch time what he's made of, right? He ran from the West, come over to the East to join the super team to try to get a title because he knows he's not the guy that can carry it, right? So I'll say the same thing about him that I said about Carmelo Anthony, right? Carmelo Anthony is a great player, but he's not a championship player, right? He's not the guy that was going to get you a championship in his prime because he was just too damn selfish and didn't want to buy in and play defense to do what the team needed to do to win the championship. That's why he only has an NCAA title to his name, right? And I'm telling you, I can see the same thing about Harden. The key to the Nets is Kevin Durant, period. Don't talk to me about Kyrie because we know that he could go MIA in the back of a milk carton in a heartbeat if someone steps on his toe or hurts his feelings, right? The reporter asked the wrong question that he's not going to want to play. Harden is notoriously awful in the playoffs. And if you don't believe me, just go to the tape, right? What I will say is this, and I know we haven't gotten to this. This is what I'm going to say to you. I think that this injury could be a blessing in disguise for Philly because I think it's going to allow them to be a little bit more aggressive on the trade front and solidify those pieces that they need. And again, if they can win the games that they're supposed to win without him being there, it gives him 2 weeks of rest, so they don't have to worry about sitting them out, giving them load management or anything like that. 2 weeks fresher, coming down the stretch. We already know what he can do. We already know his place on the team. Now it allows everybody else to settle in, get comfortable with their roles, right? Tobias Harris having a monster year, right? He's the player that you guys told me that he was going to be, right? He's just doing what he can do. The bench is starting to get into a rhythm, starting to play a little bit better. My man Korkmaz, I told you, have a good year.
I hate him.
Getting a little bit.
I hate Korkmaz.
I know you do
so much. He's so useless.
He's not useless. They don't win those games without him.
If he doesn't hit the three, what does he do?
Man, you seen him driving to the hole, getting them and ones and dunking on people. Stop it. Watch the tape. I know you refuse.
I can't stand him.
You refuse.
I can't stand him.
You see, you see Shake Milton is starting to get some more runs, starting to get more comfortable, starting to be the guy that we thought he could be. Consistency is the key, right? There's a name out there, man, that is rumored to be on the trade block. I'd love for them to go get him. I doubt they will, but the unicorn. Oh my gosh. I would love for him to end up in. Now I'm sure it's going to be PJ. It is a lot of money, but I think at the end of the day, championship speaks volumes. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know, I don't want them to get
PJ
Porzingis because they should have had Porzingis over Jahlil Okafor. He should already be a Sixer.
There you go.
All right. The fact he wasn't drafted to begin with makes me not want him. All right. I don't care how that sounds, but it's irritating to know that I remember the Jahlil Okafor draft like it was yesterday. Now everybody knows I'm a Duke fan, and I remember when it was Jahlil Okafor and KP right there, and I said I don't want Jahlil Okafor. He's not an NBA center anymore. He's an NBA center for the 1980s and the 1990s. He's not a now NBA center. He's not going to be good. He's not going to be worth it. And I wanted D'Angelo Russell, full disclosure. That's the guy I wanted, but the Lakers took him. So the next best thing was KP. But anyway, they obviously didn't get who I wanted. They said Jahlil Okafor. I nearly cried, but it's whatever. I want to add another name to the list of MVP candidates that I add him every single year because I love him and he's still. Will you let me? Well, hey, listen, I'm done. Y'all do the show by yourself. I'm out of here, bro. Let me say the name. It's my name. Get your own names. All right. Chris Paul again is showing leadership and greatness on another team, taking the Phoenix Suns that were a bubble exit last year and turning them into a playoff team. Not only just a playoff team, but the second best team with the second best record in the West. I cannot say in the NBA because both the Sixers and the Nets have 26 wins right now, making the East look strong. Thank you, Philly. Thank you, Brooklyn. But and you were talking about Dame Dollar. I love Dame Dollar. I've said before he's my top three favorite players currently playing. But he suffers from the Nikola Jokic syndrome right now. He's too low in the standings for me to say he's an MVP. You can't have your team in sixth place and tell me that you're an MVP candidate. You can't do it.
You can have your team in sixth place as an MVP candidate when you're missing your starting point guard, you're missing your starting center, and you're putting up stats and you're putting up a winning record without missing those pieces.
He is the starting point guard. Dame Dollar is the starting.
I always say I get them two mixed up. Okay, so you missed your starting shooting guard. My bad. Tomato. 1 and 2.
Not tomato, man.
So he has a winning record without those guys playing, right? But they have LeBron James in the conversation who has a losing record without one player. Okay.
But whose conversation is he in? Because he's not mine.
But he's in the main conversation, right?
I don't care. Right now, but you should know. You should know me well enough. You should know I don't care about those conversations.
I guess we'll say that he's your front runner right now. Like they got like Embiid 2 or 3. It makes no sense to me. But anyway,
no,
you need to move Dame up your list. That's all I'm gonna say. Right? You just need to move Dame up your list.
He's like 5 or 6.
Chris Paul absolutely needs to be mentioned until the second half of the season where he flames out too. But I digress. Right now, he's doing this thing again. The ultimate professional, right? That's all we can say about that. He is the
most overlooked star in the league, man. It's unbelievable. Every year he gets casted out. I want to know what skeletons are in his closet, bro. I gotta know because he's gotta have some dead wives in there. He's gotta have like I don't know what some pictures of people that he don't want to show to people. Like I don't know what's in his closet. But the fact this man is getting traded every other year anymore. Like, explain it to me. Like, he's too good.
The only thing that's in his closet is injury history. That's all. That's all there is. And he's probably the type of guy that's not going to take your BS. You understand? Like, you know, he might be a quiet alpha. You know, because clearly he wasn't the problem in Houston as they wanted to make it out to be. Right? You know, everybody in Houston got moved. You know, including the ringleader. Right? So it is what it is. Man. But as we keep talking about this basketball, there's something I want to talk to you about, and this is going to be a heavy topic next week. So we're going to talk about next week is the NCAA tournament. And I'm gonna say this to you, and I don't think it's going to go. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to finish. And I say that because you've already seen teams advance to finals of tournaments because teams couldn't play because they had a positive test. Duke's season is essentially over because they had a positive test.
And they were winning.
Has no business being invited. Duke has no business being invited to the NCAA tournament this year, but the report comes out that if they get an at-large bid, or if they can be a COVID replacement team, they'll accept, right? So when you see Kansas drop out because they got a positive test, Duke had to drop out, Virginia had to drop out, right? So you got Georgia Tech versus Florida State in the AC final tournament right now, and Georgia Tech didn't have to play last night, right? How's that fair to Florida State, right? Same thing in the Big 12, right? I think it was Texas automatically advanced because Kansas couldn't play. So you get a night off while these other teams had to play. Texas won the Big 12 tournament, right? But so much for Michigan being a powerhouse, they couldn't even win their own damn tournament. They got beat by Ohio State. But I digress because the Big 10 is the best college basketball conference, as they'll tell you. It's not. It's the Big 12. But anyway, so you're seeing all of these things happen right now. But hold on. First of all, we got to give a big shout out to the best center ever for the New York Knicks, taking his college team to the NCAA tournament because they won the Big East tournament. And I know this is going to make you so happy when we shout out Patrick Ewing. I know that's going to make you happy. I know your heart is burning with love for PatrickEwing for taking his Georgetown Hoyas to the NCAA tournament as they ran through.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Dropped off.
Hold on. I'm sorry.
Squad, Villanova, dropped them.
Hometown squad.
You know what they did?
Hometown squad.
You know what I tell you? You know what they did? 262 white. You know what they did?
Hold on, hometown squad. Nova's not even a Phillies. Nova's see if you're from the area, you know Nova's not even a Philly school. It's not even considered a Philly school because it's not in Philly. It's not in Philly.
Nova's not a Philly school because they're not part of the Big Five. Everything.
Hold on. Nova's not a part of not a Philly school because they're not in Philadelphia.
Drexel made the NCAA tournament. There you go. There's a Philly
let's go Drexel. And Temple will make it. And Temple will make it next year with Aaron McKee. But let me tell you something. I couldn't care less. About Patrick Ewing. Tell me what how many rings did Patrick Ewing win in the NBA? How many?
Here we go.
How many?
Couldn't care less.
Hold on. I couldn't care less. How much pain? See, as a Philadelphia fan, it was more fun for me to watch. See, look, all that's going to happen now in Georgetown is all the people in Georgetown are going to get they're going to get far in the finals. They're going to get far in the NCAA tournament, and then he's going to lose because that's what he does best. He's a born loser. That's what the guy is. I'm sorry. He's a born loser. That's what he is. Patrick Ewing, born loser. New York Knicks. That's what you guys are. You're born losers.
Disrespectful. Stop being disrespectful and congratulate that man on his.
I'm not congratulating. I don't got to congratulate nobody for nothing. I don't got to congratulate nobody for nothing. I'm a free man. I think I do be myself. I will congratulate the team of Georgetown. I will not congratulate Patrick Ewing, who will continue to lose for the rest of his life. Born loser.
I'm going to congratulate Georgetown, but I'm not going to congratulate Pat Ewing. You was probably the security guard that didn't recognize him the other day when he was going into the guard.
You're who? Patrick who? Patrick Ewing? Who? Yeah, that's right. Whoing? I never heard of you. Show me that ID. Hell out of my arena. Never heard of her.
God. Listen, it's been a great hour. We will be back next week, same time, same channel, same shenanigans. I promise you that. Hodge Podge Sports Show, Saturday nights 9 to 10, presented by NGSC Sports, where we never stop. Also sponsored by
The show's over. Enjoyed it. We can sit and debate and go back and forth all day long. Shout out to Raina Williams. Ain't another place to hold it down like the way that we hold it down. Won't hesitate to bet my last song that you ain't know it then. Bet you know it now. Pat and Sean with the dynamic duo on the best show around. Reverse 360 windmill. Vince Carter when we put it down. You're now rocking with the major leagues. Show be hitting like Mike Trout. These other guys try and ride the wave, but not the day they get wiped out. Cause we on a whole nother level than them. They follow the trends, we the one that set them. Later smack them like Stone Cold, and that's the bottom line until we stunning something. These lame stations ain't saying nothing. They just talk to hear their voices something. No better place to come vibe out the Hot Spot Sports Show. Keep that heat coming like Palomalo in the backfield. Relax, chill, everything covered. When we move, full head of steam. Please off the track when the train coming. Want to thank y'all for tuning in. Time what it's all about. Hope to catch y'all here next week. Same time we'll be zoning out, and we encourage you to call. Be opinionated, bring it on. Just make sure that you're ill prepared and come hard and not at all. Verbal warfare, talking sports here. Ding ding, let's get it on. And unless you stating stats, you ain't saying jack. Keep calm and carry on. 24 on that jersey, feeling something like Kobe with a few seconds on that game clock. Down two, but who worry? Throwing L's to the competition. It makes it sick to see us winning. Black Mamba mentality. See it better than me and go get it. Get it.
What up, Taz?
You already know how we do, man.
How we doing, buddy?
Hey, yo, Sean, what up?
What up?
Hey, yo, Pat, what up? Want to thank y'all for tuning in, man.
Thank you for tuning in too, Taz.
Hot Spot Sports Show, baby.
Let's get it. Sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app for the ultimate fan experience at your favorite sports venue. Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Sean, say goodnight to the people.
Hey, good night, people. Except Patrick Ewing. Hope you sleep on rocks.
Oh, not on rock. Oh, man.